with that runner's name. But Perk, how much do you think are the Lakers going to have LeBron as their primary scorer with Luka out?
LeBron who?
Costco.
LeBron's not the second option no more. That's Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves is not only the most important player outside of Luka on the Los Angeles Lakers, but one could argue he's the most important player in the NBA.
All right.
Hold on, but hear me out. Hold on, hear me out, Wendy.
He's asking you to keep.
No. It's not a settle down moment. It's a real moment because right now, when I look at this Laker team, we're talking about Austin Reeves auditioning. Because the biggest question out there is when they move on, or if they move on from LeBron, which it seems like it's trending that way, can Luka and Austin Reeves be those two franchise max guys that you could build the championship around? And if the answer is no, then we know that some other team out there in the league is going to believe that
they already believe it.
Okay, then. So my point
Reeves is going to get big time. He's going to be unrestricted free agent. He's going to get big time contract offers. And the Lakers basically have got to have Austin Reeves replace LeBron James on the salary sheet. The question is, can he replace LeBron James as the guy who can be their offensive engine next to Luka Doncic? That's still being determined. I will say this. The other night, he comes back from this calf injury, plays 25 minutes in a very important game against the 76ers, puts up 35 points.
Lit them up.
That's the kind of performance they're going to need from him going forward, especially his minutes are still going to get held down because he's had that injury twice this season.
The offense, I don't see as an issue there, Coach, at all. It's maybe the other side of the ball.
Definitely, and that's why people, when they added Luke Kennard, the #1 3-point shooter in the NBA, at the trade deadline, there was some disappointment because they did not address their defensive shortcomings. But I agree about Austin Reeves, going back to him for a sec. He missed 19 games with the calf strain. Second game back, puts up 35. Career best numbers across the board. Would have been a surefire all-star this year if he had not been hurt. This kid has just gotten better and better and better. So you got to tip your cap because he's become a big part of their future, in my opinion. Regardless of what happens with LeBron James, he's just so damn talented.
He's also incredibly fun to watch play. Like, let's not forget just the excitement level when he's got the ball. He's got all the moves. He's an expert at getting guys off balance. He can score at all three levels. And look, he's got an ABC national game tonight. He's going to be in the eye. He got an opportunity to just show the whole country how good
he is.
And
last but not least, he actually embraced these type of moments. Like as being the man. We saw this a few years ago when he went into Memphis and Braun took a back seat in that playoff series and he took him home in the fourth quarter.
He announced he was him.
Yeah.
Well, it feels like for the Lakers, though, it's going to be how many games can they get their big three together for? Because so far, that's been the issue. It's they take turns. There's two guys here going off. There's two guys there.
Teams played in there.
Need to be.
Yeah. Did you get any more info on Luka at this point?
Yeah, we did.
Would you care to share?
Oh, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's he's got a mild hamstring strain. He'll be out tonight, and then day-to-day moving forward.
Mild, I guess, in this context, seems like a good word to hear. Is it fair to say like you feel good about that relative to what it could have been?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's day-to-day.
Okay. Did you feel like Austin came through the 25 minutes? Obviously played great, but now 2 days later, and will he have a chance to get the minutes restriction going up a little bit?
No.
Okay. So 25 would be what it was last time?
Yeah.
Okay. And then just what have you seen from the Warriors without Steph the last couple of games?
It's weird to say this, that I don't necessarily think the play style has changed all that much. That they're running a lot of the same stuff. It's given opportunities for other guys like Melton in particular. He's #1 on the team in field goal attempts the last 5 games. He's super aggressive and particularly off the bounce right now. But they're running their post splits. They're shooting threes at a high volume. Draymond's looking to push in transition and find shooters, and then they're playing really hard. They're very disruptive defensively, and they're crashing.
We saw Luke upgrades available. Just how much were you able to catch him up to speed with the potential of him making his debut tonight?
We feel like we're in a good spot. It's not going to be perfect, but he knows. The two couple words that he knows, he'll be good with. And we'll keep it simple for him when he's out there.
And you said the other day or last game that you're going to encourage him to not pass up shots, let it fly. how do you go about giving him that message? I'm sure that's the message he's heard from teammates, coaches. Like, what do you do or say to make sure that he receives that message, but also does it? Give him the best shot of doing it.
Yeah, man. Sometimes my sarcasm can come across very flat. No, I think all season we have generated great shots, and he's going to be in a position to take great shots.
JJ, knowing Luka the way you do you think being available for the All-Star game matters to him? And if, I guess, in a different scale, like knowing that you guys have that buffer of time, sometimes people would be like, oh, well, we'll just shut him down, miss 3 games, and fine, and he gets an extra week. Like, how are you guys kind of balancing those two different things?
Yeah, I've been around him as a teammate and as a coach, and I know, he plays. Like, if he's able to play, he plays. And I think he wants to be in the All-Star game. I know he wants to play against Dallas the game before the All-Star game. He has his team working on him day and night. So again, it's day to day, and when he's ready to play, we'll get him out there.
Well, you mentioned the other night about Luke being an off-ball threat and being able to create second actions and everything. As far as his on-ball presence, I know teams have tried to have him be a guy who can make plays as well. How much do you want to tap into that, if not tonight, so over the course of the season with him?
Yeah, I mean, I thought I said this the other night, maybe I didn't. I think one of the underrated parts of him, he's been in the half court, like a kind of an initiator of action. If that makes sense. Whether it's we call it ear, but playing out of ear, where he gets that little single Iverson cut and into a drive or into a side pick and roll. You can play him off ball, obviously, to initiate action, but he's able to just consistently make the right play, and because of that, the ball movement thing, he can be a guy that starts your offense in some ways.
Awesome.
Hey JJ, Austin has been trending this way for a while, obviously, but what has stood out to you just about his growth this season?
I would say, confidence and leadership. Our team, responds to him. That was the case at the beginning of the year. That was the case the other night. They respond to him, and he carries himself. He was having a really bad game at one point. I think it was in December. I said something very weird to him, but it was like trying to get him out of his thing, and the gist of it was like the way he carries himself matters to our team, and that to me that was the thing we talked about all summer, was like, you're out of excuses. You're not the undrafted kid from the small town in Arkansas anymore. Like, you're a high level, all-star level NBA player. Carry yourself like that every day, and he's done that.
Just as a quick follow to that, like, what does that mean in terms of like carrying himself a certain way? What does that look like to you?
It goes back to understanding the importance of how he communicates and his body language and his level of aggression, the way his face looks, his confidence level, all of that stuff. That's what it means.
Thanks, Coach.
Yep.
Is there anything more fascinating in current basketball than watching an organization that spent years being ridiculed for making impulsive and spectacular decisions suddenly discovering the value of strategic patience and long-term planning? How is it possible that the Los Angeles Lakers, a franchise that literally traded away their entire future for Russell Westbrook and watched everything explode spectacularly, are now operating with the kind of tactical sophistication that championship organizations employ when they're truly serious about building something sustainable? And why are we witnessing Rob Pelinka being treated as a chess genius when all he did was trade a perpetually injured backup point guard for a sharpshooter that most casual fans probably couldn't identify in a lineup? Then sit back and watch the buyout market deliver exactly the kind of talent that teams usually have to sacrifice significant assets to acquire. If you're enjoying this deep analysis of the Lakers' strategic moves, don't forget to hit that like button to help us continue bringing this kind of detailed content about the NBA's smartest decisions. The most urgent situation that has completely changed the Lakers landscape in the last 24 hours is Luka Doncic's hamstring injury, who was officially ruled out for today's game against the Golden State Warriors after suffering a left hamstring strain during Thursday's victory over the Philadelphia 76ers. What was initially described as left leg soreness was subsequently confirmed as a hamstring injury that required an MRI on Friday. With ESPN sources reporting, there's initial optimism that Doncic isn't dealing with a significant issue. The injury occurred in the second quarter when Doncic clearly favored his hamstring for several possessions before finally heading to the locker room with 3 remaining in the second quarter, and he visibly left the arena limping after the game, which certainly didn't inspire confidence among Lakers fans who have become all too familiar with watching their team's championship aspirations get derailed by untimely injuries to key players. The cruel timing of this injury couldn't be worse for a Lakers team that had finally managed to get healthy for the first time all season, with Austin Reeves returning from his calf injury just a few games earlier. The devastating irony is that Doncic, Reeves, and LeBron James had played together only for the 10th time in 50 games this season before Doncic got hurt against the Sixers, which perfectly encapsulates the injury frustration this team has dealt with throughout what was supposed to be their first real opportunity to see what their core trio could accomplish when fully healthy and operating with proper chemistry and rhythm. Austin Reeves perfectly summarized the team's collective concern when he said, after the game, I talked to Luka a little bit at halftime, asked if he was okay, and he kind of just looked at me. Hopefully it's nothing major. We need him. He's our best player and the engine of a lot of stuff that we do. Hopefully it'll be good news tomorrow. The unpredictability of hamstring injuries creates additional anxiety because they can vary so drastically in terms of recovery timeline and long-term impact. With injury experts noting that minor hamstring tightness can be a day-to-day issue that resolves quickly with proper treatment and rest. But more serious strains can sideline players for weeks or even months depending on the grade and location of the injury, with grade I hamstring strains typically requiring 1 to 2 weeks of recovery time, while grade 2 strains can keep players out for 4 to 6 weeks. Doncic has already missed 8 games this season and needs to appear in 65 games to be eligible for major individual awards, like MVP. And he was in the middle of what was shaping up to be a legitimate MVP campaign following a dominant January that earned him Western Conference Player of the Month honors after averaging 34.0 points on 50.6%, shooting with 7.2 rebounds, 9.1 assists, and 5 steals while leading the Lakers to one of their best stretches of the season. I believe this injury, while frustrating in the moment, might actually force the Lakers to accelerate their buyout market evaluations and potentially discover something valuable that helps them both short-term and when everyone returns to full health. Ironically, the timing of this Doncic injury might actually highlight the brilliance of the Luke Kennard acquisition, who is questionable to make his Lakers debut today against the Warriors, with the official designation being trade pending as he finalizes his required medical examinations. The trade that sent Gabe Vincent and a 2032 second-round pick to the Atlanta Hawks for Kennard wasn't just about addressing the Lakers' desperate need for three-point shooting. It was about adding exactly the kind of precision weapon that becomes invaluable when your primary star is absent and you need someone who can step in and provide reliable offensive production without needing a structured system built around them. Kennard isn't just leading the NBA in three-point percentage at an impressive 49.7% this season. He's literally the second most efficient three-point shooter in NBA history with a career 44.2% mark, trailing only the legendary Steve Kerr at 45.4%. And when you're talking about that level of shooting efficiency, getting fed clean looks from the playmaking trio of Don James and Reeves, you're essentially adding a nuclear weapon to an already dangerous offensive arsenal. The beauty of this acquisition is that it checks multiple boxes simultaneously while creating zero long-term complications for the organization's bigger picture goals. They address the glaring weakness without sacrificing future flexibility, added championship experience without taking on problematic contracts, and did it all while actually improving their salary cap situation, saving $500,000 in cap space while simultaneously addressing their most pressing need and creating additional roster flexibility. The Lakers' internal scouting terminology for elite shooters like Kennard is laser, which is absolutely perfect, because that's exactly what he brings to this team. Laser precision from beyond the arc in clutch moments when games are decided by possessions, and every shot becomes magnified under playoff pressure. When you consider that Kennard will be getting the cleanest looks of his career, playing alongside 3 elite playmakers who can collapse defenses and create wide open opportunities, that 49.7% three-point percentage might actually be sustainable or even improvable throughout the remainder of the season. Coach JJ Redick made his expectations for Kennard clear after the Sixers game, saying he's one of the best shooters in the NBA. I'm going to highly encourage him to shoot more and not turn down shots. But I think one of the underrated parts of his game is his ability to move and create second actions and move the basketball. The Duke connection between Kennard and Redick isn't just some cute storyline for the media to obsess over during slow news cycles. It represents genuine basketball chemistry and mutual understanding that could translate into immediate dividends. When it comes to integrating him into a system that thrives on basketball IQ, precise execution, and the kind of off-ball movement that creates scoring opportunities for elite shooters. Thinking about it, this might be one of those trades that looks modest on paper but could end up being the difference maker in crucial playoff moments when you need someone who can step up and knock down the biggest shot of the game. Haywood Highsmith's availability represents exactly the kind of secondary market opportunity that sophisticated organizations like the Lakers were hoping for when they maintained their flexibility specifically to take advantage of these situations. Highsmith was waived by the Brooklyn Nets on Thursday as a direct result of their 3-team trade that brought Ochai Agbaji to Brooklyn. And according to Michael Scotto of Hoops Hype, he's drawing interest from several playoff teams while recovering from meniscus surgery that kept him off the court this entire season. The most encouraging report is that Highsmith's agent Jerry Dionis confirmed his client is healthy, participating in 5-on-5 scrimmages, and was targeting February 11th for his Nets debut before being waived, meaning the Lakers wouldn't have to wait long for him to finally return if they decided to pursue this opportunity. What makes Highsmith such an intriguing prospect for the Lakers specifically is his proven defensive versatility and shooting ability. With career averages of 5.4 points, 3 rebounds, and 1.1 assists while shooting 44.9% from the field and an impressive 37.4% from three-point range across 218 NBA games. More importantly, his last healthy season with the Miami Heat saw him convert 38.2% from 3 and 39.6% the season before, and even a modest return to that level would help. A Lakers team currently ranked 21st in three-point shooting at 33.9% and dead last in bench scoring, which is 28.0 points per game. Heat coach Eric Spoelstra once described Highsmith as a great defender, Swiss Army knife guy, winning player, fills in a bunch of different gaps, knows how to play a role. Praise that underscores why playoff teams continue monitoring his availability. That defensive versatility paired with a 7-foot wingspan could immediately address one of the Lakers' most glaring weaknesses: consistent wing defense against elite scorers. Highsmith wouldn't replicate Kennard's shooting gravity, but his defensive edge would complement it particularly in postseason matchups, where having multiple defensive options can be the difference between advancing and going home early. Financially, the Lakers' conservative deadline approach was deliberate. With more than $55 million in projected cap space this summer, the front office showed little appetite for absorbing multi-year contracts that would compromise their future flexibility. A buyout addition changes that equation completely, as Highsmith would likely come on a short-term minimum level deal, preserving future cap room while offering rotation level upside that could pay immediate dividends. It's a classic higher-word swing for a team balancing immediate contention with off-season options, and I believe it would be a smart decision to pursue Highsmith aggressively, especially considering his Miami experience has prepared him to contribute in high-pressure situations. The Cam Thomas situation represents an entirely different type of opportunity, but one that might be equally valuable for a Lakers team desperately struggling with bench offensive production. Thomas was waived by the Brooklyn Nets exactly 6 minutes after the trade deadline expired in a mutual decision, instantly creating what many are calling the most intriguing buyout market opportunity. Thomas had been averaging 15.6 points and 1 assist per game this season while showing flashes of the explosive scoring ability that made him average nearly 25 points per game during his breakout 2024-25 campaign. But a combination of injury problem, efficiency issues, and what appeared to be growing frustration with his role in Brooklyn created a situation where both sides felt a fresh start was necessary. The circumstances surrounding Thomas's release reveal everything you need to know about why this situation developed and why it represents such a fascinating opportunity for the right organization. Thomas had signed his qualifying offer during the summer essentially betting on himself to have a career year that would position him for a significant payday in free agency. But a combination of injury problems, diminished efficiency, and what appeared to be growing frustration with his role in Brooklyn created a situation where continuing to try to make it work would have been counterproductive for everyone involved. With reports indicating that Thomas had turned down multiple contract offers from Brooklyn and was actively seeking a trade to a more competitive situation where his talents could be properly utilized. What makes Thomas such an intriguing target for the Lakers specifically is his ability to create his own shot at high volume, something that could be absolutely invaluable for a team that sometimes struggles to generate consistent offense when their stars are resting, or when the pace of the game slows down in those crucial playoff moments where possessions become precious and every scoring opportunity must be maximized. Thomas averaged an impressive 0 points per game during his breakout 2024-25 season, demonstrating the kind of offensive ceiling that most teams would love to have coming off their bench. But his efficiency dipped this season as he shot just 39.9% from the field while dealing with a hamstring injury that cost him 20 games and clearly affected his rhythm and confidence throughout the year. Wiley. Thomas certainly comes with some legitimate concerns about defensive consistency and shot selection that any potential suitor would need to address. The upside potential of adding a 24-year-old scorer who can function effectively without needing a structured offensive system built around him represents exactly the kind of high-reward move that could make the difference in a competitive Western Conference playoff race where depth and bench scoring punch often determines which teams advance and which ones go home early. The fact that Thomas immediately pitched himself to other teams after being waived, telling reporters he's super excited and ready to actually help and contribute to another team, suggests he's approached this setback with the right mindset and maturity level, understanding that this fresh start could be exactly what he needs to reach his considerable potential. The timing of Thomas's availability couldn't be more perfect for the Lakers, who are currently sitting dead last in the NBA in bench scoring with a pathetic 28.0 points per game from their second unit, a statistic that has consistently hurt them throughout the season and represents one of the most glaring weaknesses that could torpedo their playoff aspirations if not addressed. I believe the combination of Thomas's offensive potential and the Lakers' desperate need for bench production makes this an almost no-brainer consideration, especially when you factor in the kind of clean looks he might get playing alongside elite playmakers like Doncic, Jamesy, and Reeves. The broader strategic question the Lakers face is whether to pursue one or both of these opportunities, and that may depend largely on how the Doncic injury situation develops over the next few days. If the MRI reveals a significant hamstring strain that could sideline him for multiple weeks, suddenly guards like Thomas or even Lonzo Ball become much more appealing options despite their obvious limitations, simply because the Lakers would need someone who can step in and run the offense while their primary creator recovers. It's exactly the kind of unpredictable development that can completely change a team's strategic calculus and force front offices to adjust their plans on the fly, which is precisely why maintaining roster flexibility and keeping multiple options available becomes so crucial during these uncertain periods. Meanwhile, the buyout market has been developing exactly as expected, with several key players officially becoming available and creating a fascinating array of options for teams like the Lakers, who maintain their flexibility specifically to take advantage of these secondary market opportunities. The Utah Jazz officially placed both Lonzo Ball and Chris Boucher on waivers, making them eligible to sign with any team except Cleveland once they clear waivers in a couple of days, while Chris Paul remains in bureaucratic limbo with the Toronto Raptors, who traded for him but are not requiring him to report to the team, essentially setting up what appears to be an inevitable buyout situation where he becomes available to chase one final championship opportunity before calling it a career. Ball's availability is particularly intriguing given his complicated history with the Lakers organization and the potential narrative appeal of a homecoming. Even though his numbers this season have been genuinely concerning, with averages of just 4.6 points while shooting a career-worst 30% from the field and an even more alarming 27.2% from three-point range. The decline in his shooting has been so dramatic that opposing defenses have basically stopped guarding him on the perimeter, which creates obvious spacing problems for any team that might consider adding him to their rotation. However, Ball still brings legitimate value as a facilitator, transition playmaker, and perimeter defender who understands how to play winning basketball even when his shot isn't falling, and for a team dealing with potential point guard depth issues due to injury. His basketball IQ and veteran savvy could provide stability during difficult stretches. Chris Paul's situation remains the most intriguing wildcard in this entire buyout market discussion. Paul was essentially exiled by the Clippers organization after what was described as clashes with management, coaches, and players over his vocal leadership style and accountability demands. But his championship experience and basketball intelligence remain undeniable assets for any team serious about making a playoff run. The question with Paul isn't really about his ability to contribute. It's about whether he still has the motivation to play at a high level and whether any potential chemistry benefits would outweigh the drama and complications that seem to follow him. Wherever he goes at this stage of his career, Matisse Thybulle represents another fascinating potential opportunity. Though he remains in Portland for now, with reports suggesting he's a buyout candidate as the Trailblazers look to convert two-way players. Sidi Sissoko and Caleb Love, 2 standard contracts. Thybulle has played only 4 games for Portland this season due to thumb and knee injuries, but when healthy, he brings exactly the kind of elite perimeter defense that could be invaluable for a Lakers team struggling with consistent stops against elite scorers. The broader strategic picture here reveals a Lakers organization that has finally learned how to operate with the kind of long-term vision, calculated patience that championship organizations employ when they're serious about sustained success rather than just generating headlines and appeasing impatient fan bases. The Kennard trade addresses a specific and crucial need while actually improving their financial flexibility rather than constraining it. The potential buyout additions give them multiple paths to upgrade their roster depth without compromising their summer pursuit of different talent like Giannis Antetokounmpo, and even the injury situation, while obviously concerning and frustrating in the immediate term, might actually provide valuable evaluation opportunities that help them make better long-term roster construction decisions when they have more complete information about what works and what doesn't work with their core players. This is exactly the kind of sophisticated, multi-layered roster construction approach that championship organizations employ when they're thinking beyond the immediate season and positioning themselves for sustained excellence rather than just trying to maximize their chances in any single year. Rob Pelinka deserves significant credit for learning from past mistakes and operating with this level of strategic sophistication, understanding that sometimes the most important moves are the ones you don't make, and that maintaining flexibility can be just as valuable as making splashy acquisitions that look good in press conferences but don't actually move the needle toward championship contention. The fact that they've managed to address their most glaring weakness, positioned themselves to be major players in the buyout market, maintained complete financial flexibility for the summer, preserved their draft capital for future opportunities, and done it all while remaining genuinely competitive in the playoff race despite constant injury setbacks represents exactly the kind of front office excellence that fans of this organization should demand after years of watching previous regimes make short-sighted decisions that mortgage the future for minimal present-day improvements. The most revealing development might be how this Doncic injury forces the Lakers to accelerate their buyout market evaluations and potentially discover something that benefits them both short and long term. Keith Smith's latest salary cap analysis from Spotrac shows the Lakers are now projected to have the most cap space in the league for the 2026 offseason, with updated projections putting them at $55 million behind only the Clippers' $67.6 million. But with the distinctive advantage of being the only truly competitive team with that level of financial flexibility, this position becomes even more valuable when you consider that other teams initially projected to have significant cap space, like the Wizards and Jazz, have already burned through much of their projected flexibility on deadline moves that may not translate into competitive success. I believe this combination of unprecedented financial flexibility, preserved draft capital, and a star in Doncic who makes other players better positions to the Lakers to potentially make the kind of transformative summer move that could elevate them from good to genuinely dangerous. And the patience they've shown throughout this season might end up being viewed as the smartest decision they've made in years.